How do you make chicken noodle soup? From a can, right? How about making it from scratch? That is a whole lot of steps to do. First, you have to take the chicken bones and boil it into broth, make the noodles, cut bits of chicken and vegetables together, then boil it all together. And that's how you make chicken noodle soup. What about the Bumblebee shipping? What is that? That is you being served a bowl of salt water with chicken bones in it, and it's called chicken noodle soup. Where is everything? Where's the noodles, the vegetables, the actual chicken broth, the bits of chicken that are edible? When making a shipping, you need to make it into a love story. You need to write the encounter, the growth, the climax, what happens after they propose, and how the community or even the character's friends react to it. Without that, it just feels stale, abrupt. You can't make chicken noodle soup without starting with the chicken. When writing a love story, I try to follow these unofficial rules. 1. The encounter. What happens when the characters meet? 2. The growth. What will those characters do to strengthen that newfound flame? 3. The climax. That moment when the characters finally propose to each other and try to stop hiding in front of each other. 4. The exposure. How do the characters' friends react? How does the community react? And 5. The resolution. This is usually when the shipping is thrown into the background. It's settled, it's official that these two characters love each other, but the story has to go on now. You don't need to. Now, how about I try to explain those steps in the story? I'm going to have two characters, a girl named Yuki Kono and a boy named Calvary. Now, Yuki has AIDS and only has a few months to live. Calvary is a nurse that works at that hospital. So now, how do they even meet? Yuki is going to the hospital for her daily checkup, and on that day, Calvary is that nurse assisting her, or doing that routine checkup for her. They're both teenagers, and they quickly make a small friendship together. The growth. By chance, they end up meeting with each other every day. Like fate wanted them to do more checkups, to be together for some reason. They quickly have a growing bond together. They enjoy each other's company. They have a strong relationship together. Then one day, Yuki asks Calvary on a date. A date? Yeah, a date. That is where the growth finally reaches its tipping point. They go on a date together, and that's where they realize they were meant for each other. Even if Yuki had a few days to live, she didn't care. At least she was living it with Calvary. Now think about it. That is a good start off. But what about the exposure? How do the other people react? Well, the doctors don't actually like it. They are afraid that Calvary's gonna hurt himself dating a girl who only has a few months to live. The parents of Yuki think the same thing. They don't want them dating each other because it's only going to cause more heartbreak. But Calvary and Yuki don't care. They end up dating with each other a lot more, and slowly people start accepting it. That's where the resolution comes in. People start accepting it. They accept that these two were born for each other, that they were meant for each other. So what happens? The story continues like that. They continue to date with each other even if Bumblebee started off strong. It had the potential to become a good shipping, or even a canon one at that. But why do people hate it so much? I personally don't hate it. I accept it. It's a new thing. We never had a same-sex relationship with the main characters until now. What I hate about it is how it was done. You can't have two characters suddenly fall in love with each other out of nowhere. You can't even call it canon if it's not done properly. I'm gonna say it right now. Black Sun had a better chemical reaction than Bumblebee will ever have. Why? Because it follows more of the steps I mentioned before. Both of them did have encounters, but none of them had proper growth or even a possible tipping point. Let's start with Black Sun. Black Sun started off with Sun being the cheeky person he is, being a monkey faunus, and just making a lot of mischief. This quickly caught on to Blake. She seemed to like it. She enjoyed being in Sun's presence because she can openly be herself, something she couldn't do for most of the season one because she was still afraid of her teammates or even people at her school for abusing her for being a faunus. We even see it in season 4 when Blake was headed back to her homeland. Sun had snuck aboard the same ship because he was worried about her. She ran away from the big battle in Beacon without telling anyone. There had to be a strong reason why these two characters were put together. My thoughts would have been as shipping. They seemed to work together back in season 1 to 3, and it's still continuing on in season 4. As the story continues, there is a literal pinpoint moment when it was supposed to be confirmed that these two had a reason to be together, a shipping reason. When Blake's mom whispers over to Blake and says, "I like him," what other alert or even giant fire alarm sized bell should have triggered people to say that Black Sun was confirmed? That sign, Sun meeting the parents of Blake, even growing a relationship with the dad. I mean, it was already about to be set in stone, people. So what about Bumblebee? Yes, I can confirm that there are moments when those two had been together. There was the time Blake overworked herself and Yang hugged her. There was a time they danced with each other for a little bit at the ball, and then Yang handed her over to Sun. But there was no meaningful relationship. When Adam cut down Yang's arm, Blake immediately ran away, unable to face her, unable to face Yang at what she couldn't protect. Blake and Yang don't even meet each other until the end of season 5. That is almost 2 seasons apart of not even seeing each other. And you're telling me they suddenly have feelings for each other? I mean, the strongest feelings they would have is a friendship, not love for each other. And how long is 2 seasons? Well, I mean, by season 4, everyone grew up. I'm going to estimate maybe like 2 years or something. 2 years of not being together. And you're telling me they suddenly have a relationship? They start having these, oh my god, she was like the beautifulest person in the world. I want to be with her so much. That is bull crap. Everyone else facing their own problems too. Especially Yang, who was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. She lost her arm. Okay? That last thing she wants to focus on is love. She's still trying to get over, well, probably for an episode long, she was still trying to get over losing her arm. Yeah, at the end of the episode, we see her putting on the robotic arm and trying it out, but who knows how long that was. It still took her a while to get used to it, to accept that her robotic arm is her future. And while Yang was suffering from her post-traumatic stress disorder, Blake was handling things by herself. She had to own up to the history that the White Fang had put them through. I know the saying, distance will make the heart grow stronger, or the heart, or something like that. But please, they are hunters. They literally just survived an almost mass genocide of their school. And you're telling me that they had these deep feelings for each other. Did I mention that Blake ran away after Yang lost her arm? Like, come on. No one, I mean, I probably would have done the same thing. No one is gonna be thinking about love. Honestly, if the Bumblebee shipping was canon, they would have started back in season 3. I have a little suggestion that probably would have fixed the Bumblebee shipping a whole lot better. Now, this is going to feel a little out of character for Blake because even her semblance is about running away. What if she didn't run away when Yang lost her arm? What if she planned to run away, but then came back feeling sorry for what she did? That little intimacy of Blake coming back to apologize to Yang probably would have sparked what would have been a good Bumblebee shipping. Let's paint the scene. Yang had lost her arm. Ruby just used her silver eyes and was passed out. Everyone was about to go on their own ways. And we see Blake jumping on the rooftops, about to run away, when she stops and looks back. She looks forward again, toward probably the ship headed to Menagerie, her homeland. And then she looks back and starts heading back to the infirmary where Yang was sitting. Come back to the scene with Yang looking at what used to be her arm, covered in bandages right now. She's depressed. Her face is showing signs of stress. She's been holding back so much tears and emotions that she didn't want to flare up. She looks outside. It's starting to rain when she hears a knock on the window. Yang is unsure if she's hearing things. Maybe she became delusional from the blood loss. She goes over to the window and opens it. The black blur purges in. It was Blake. She was soaking wet from the rain. "What are you doing here?" Yang says out loud. She was shocked that Blake had even come back after all the events that happened. "I came to apologize." "And do you have a towel?" Blake asked. She was soaking wet head to toe, her ears even drooping from the wetness. "I came to apologize." "And do you have a towel?" Blake asked. She was soaking wet head to toe, her ears even drooping from the wetness. They calmed down, Blake all dry, her head covered in a towel. Yang still a little curious why she came back. They sit together in a moment of silence, still reminiscing of what just happened only a few hours ago. Yang finally speaks up. "Why did you come back?" she says, her tone a little angry, a little upset. "I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean to run away. I was just too scared of what to do next," Blake replies, shyly, a little scared of how Yang would respond. "I guess I got disarmed," Yang says, trying to break the harsh tension in the air. Blake scoffs softly, a little annoyed that Yang was able to joke at a time like this. Are you okay? Losing your arm and all? I should have been there, should have held you back. Blake tries to stall. She obviously didn't want to make Yang feel like it was her fault she lost everything. Just a flesh wound, Yang says, still trying to keep up the upbeat attitude she had began. She holds out her arm, the missing one, and just stares at it for a moment, as if she was flexing her hand in and out. Yang looks away. She still couldn't get the feeling that this was her fault. A second passes, and all of a sudden Yang's arm was wrapped around her, tightly in a one-armed hug. Thanks for coming back. I really needed someone. This sudden change of emotion surprises Blake. She'd never seen someone able to forgive as quickly as Yang did. Yes, she still felt that this was her fault, but that little feeling, that little hug, gave her a boatload of remorse. That she can actually fix this, that she didn't need to do this alone anymore. That would have been a good spot to start the Bumblebee shipping. We could have had those two characters sticking together. Yes, Blake wouldn't be able to help out in the White Fang incident later on, but this was a strong moment. This was a connection between Yang and Blake, and that would have been a good moment for Bumblebee. Why this didn't happen? Because they never planned it. In just a matter of maybe 20 sentences, I was able to suggest a scenario where Bumblebee could have been canon. Ain't that crazy? A backwash writer able to write something decent. This is why I don't like how Bumblebee started. Without a good beginning, without a base, you're just becoming a fanfiction writer, wanting to write a love relationship in your vast story that is Ruby without proper